Welcome. I'm Keisha Brigance, and on behalf of the Greater Muhlenberg Chamber of Commerce, I'm bringing you today an online presentation in lieu of our August in-person meeting. Today we welcome Robby Davis, Superintendent of the Muhlenberg County School District. Robby's going to be speaking to us today about the upcoming changes and opportunities within the school system that involve our students. Most of the students impacted will be with Muhlenberg County High School and the Muhlenberg South Middle School students. Robby, thank you for your time, hard work, and dedication to our students and staff in Muhlenberg County. And with further ado, if you will please fill us in on these opportunities.
Good afternoon. I'm here to talk to you about some of our plans for reopening and what school may look like at the beginning of this year. But first, I want to talk about something we're really excited about. For the first time in a long time, all of our high school kids and staff will be on one campus. No longer will be an East Campus and a West Campus. They're all together. So we're really excited about that. A whole lot of advantages to that, be it transportation, unity, culture, more access to classes. All those are reasonable and all those are great. But I think the number one thing is the relationship between the staff and the kids has more time to develop. Kids will have their favorite adult in school that they can go to now instead of just 2 years of that. Now we have 4. Very excited about that. Also excited about South Middle is now at East Campus, and that is a newer facility. It's a bigger facility, so we feel like it's a win-win-win for our community, our parents, our staff, and our kids. So we're all happy about that. Let's move in now to some of the things that are going on with masks, with mandates, and all these. Governor Beshear a couple of days ago issued a mask mandate for indoor activities on school grounds, and that's to last 30 days. So what does this mean for us, and how are we going to work through that? Well, let me lay out some of those details. Number one, let's talk about what we likely all agree on. It's best for our kids to be back in school, in person, 5 days a week. So I think we all agree on that. So how do we make that happen? Well, there are some new quarantine rules this year which actually will help greatly with that. In the past, if one student was positive, masked or not, students around them were often quarantined. So we had maybe a positive case in several quarantines. This year, if students are masked up and at least 3 feet apart in a classroom, if one student is positive, the students around that student are not quarantined unless they show symptoms. That makes a huge difference. You know, we're watching other districts who have already started. Luckily, we do start a little later this year, and we're trying to learn from them. Warren County, for example, they had an optional masking, which most did not wear a mask. So after 3 days of school, they had over 700 students and or staff members positive or quarantined, and the great majority of those were quarantined. You can't have school like that, so that is a huge concern. So these new quarantine rules, we believe, will help us stay in school. Going back again, what do we want? In person, in school, 5 days a week, not in and out. Our county's cases have been going up quite a bit, and they're not dropping. They're kind of up there, and they continue to go up, at least plateauing at best. So we're hoping that changes soon, but that is a factor. That's something we're looking at. So the next question would be, all right, when can we go back to optional masking? That's what we want. That's what everybody, I think, ultimately wants to get to. Well, the mandate overrides anything. But after that, look at that map. Look at the map where we're red. That will be a leading indicator. Once our number starts dropping, we get back into orange, headed towards yellow. That's something that's going to matter very much because we see our cases going right in line with that map. That's what we're noticing. So I would be watching that. Obviously, we'll have input from our board. We'll be talking to our health department, and we'll see how we're affected with our staff and kids at that time. So again, we're hoping that this is a relatively short-term thing, even though I can't promise that. I don't know that. So, another concern, along with the quarantines, is not having enough staff members or not having enough bus drivers if I have too many folks out who are positive or who are quarantined. So that's something we may know and you may not. if we're not ready to go yet. We'll try to share that information with you, but that is always a worry if I don't have enough bus drivers or enough cooks or whatever. That happened last year, so that's something we'll have to keep an eye on this year as well. We have to work and do a better job at giving our kids mask breaks. We're talking about that. We realize a child does not need to have a mask on all day long with no breaks other than breakfast or lunch. So sometimes we can take them outside, sometimes maybe to the gym. We're working on a way to do that in class in a safe way as well. So that is something I'm sure you we're working towards. Again, hope the universal masking is a relatively short-term thing, and regardless of where you stand on this, we ask that you share your kids with us. We want them back. This is what we do. This is what we want to do, is to have your kids 5 days a week and try to catch them up, do better than we did last year, but we need them in person to do that. Finally, remember, our final goal, in person, 5 days a week. I keep saying that. Everything we can do to make that happen, we want to do. And speaking of that, I ask that you consider or reconsider getting vaccinated. It's obviously a personal decision. I can't know your individual circumstances, so I'm not saying that. But we believe that the more folks who are vaccinated, the less quarantines we're going to have, the less positives we're going to have, which means the more likely we are to be able to keep our kids in school. So I just urge you to consider that. Folks, with this, anything COVID, there is so much room for disagreement. And we understand that reasonable people can disagree on all things COVID, it seems. I ask that you support our schools. We need your support. I can assure you we are doing what we think is best for your child. We're trying to do right by your child. So any support you can give us would be greatly appreciated. And one last thing, I want to talk about a service that we're going to offer this year. If you want it, we will have testing available at school for staff and kids. But I want to be very clear about this. It's totally voluntary. Your child will not be tested unless you have consented to that, unless you're there. So if you're saying now, hey, I never want my child tested if they have symptoms, I'm a little worried about that, but I don't want them tested at school, it won't happen. If you would like for it to, we're going to work that out. So that's something we're working on. We'll give you more details later about that, but again, I'll say it over and over. That's totally voluntary. We're not going to test your child and you not know about it. Thank you.